Okay, hello students. In the last session, we learned about C string. We learned that C string is just an array of character, and it must end with null character. And because C string is an array, manipulating it is not trivial. So you must worry about the capacity of array. For example, you have to create another array by yourself if you want to store C string that exceed the current array's capacity. And you always have to be careful that it must end with null character. So if you unintentionally override this null character with other character, the program may behave not as expected. So this means that the programmer must worry about the low-level details of how the C strings are stored in memory. So it's very error-prone. So new types of string. The string class is introduced in C++. We haven't learned the concept of class yet. We will learn class next week. And don't too much worry about class in these sessions. You can understand string class without knowing the concept of class. So let's study about string class in these sessions. To use a string class, you should include a string library like this. If you declared using namespace std like this one, you can use a string just like this. If not, you must specify namespace std and with double colon each time you use a string like this one. And the advantage of using string class is that programmer can treat string as a basic data type, not as an array of character like C string. So I will show you an example of this in the later slides. And there are more than 100 functions in this string class, so it is much easier for you to dealing string with a string class than using a C string. And by the way, same operations available as C string still applies to the string class. So string object have the advantages of array of characters, and it has a number of advantages that array do not have as well. So it's much better to use a string class because string class automatically check the invalid index access and automatically increase the capacity of array. So and using string class, so you can make more secure program. So let's see some useful operations or functions provided by string class. First of all, you can use plus operator to concatenate two string. Here S1, S2, S3 are all string class type variable. You can concatenate two string class type variable just using this plus operator. But you cannot do this with two C string variables. You have to use str-cat functions for concatenating two C string variables. So using a string class is much more intuitive way. You can deal in string with much more intuitive way. And note that this string is a C string, as we learned in the last sessions. But C++ automatically convert this C string to string class type when we are saving to this S3 variable, which is a string type variable. And you cannot do this with C string variable. You cannot assign C string value into C string variable using this assignment operator. you have to use a strcpy for C-string value because C-string is just array of characters. So again, using a string class, you can dealing with string with much more intuitive way. You don't need to use strcpy functions. And unlike C-string, string class does not end with null character. But programmers usually don't need to know about these low-level details. All they need to do is use the provided functions from the string class. Let me introduce you two more functions in string class. The length function here. You will often use these functions. This function returns the length of the string. It's very useful functions. And add functions, which receive one int type of argument and returns the reference to the character at positions I. This is same as accessing array element with array square brackets like this one. So this is exactly the same as this one. But there is one big difference between these f functions and array square brackets. F functions automatically checks and warns the programmer if they try to access invalid index. On the other hand, this way of accessing array using array square brackets, it does not check the accessing illegal index. So if programmer try to access illegal index of array using this array square brackets, the program may terminate abnormally. So using f functions, this f function is only provided from the string class, so you cannot use this f function with a C-string variable. So that is one advantage of using a string class. So using these f functions rather than using these array square brackets, it's much more, you can develop more safer program. It's much more safer way to develop your program because it automatically checks the invalid index accessing. So let's see the demo code for this one very quickly. So let me compile this program first. Okay, so if I run this program, let me make this font. It prints y because I am printing str3 index, which is 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, which is y. So this program prints y. Note that index starts from 0, not 1. So here we have a string class type of variable str, which stores the Mary string. This Mary is a C-string value, but it automatically converts into the C++ automatically converts the C-string to string class type. So there is an automatic conversion here. And I said that we can access the, we can reference the characters of the string by using this array square brackets. So here we are accessing characters of the index 3, which is y. And we can do the same thing using add functions. So in order to use add functions, you use a dot here and call the function here, and you can put here. So these two are exactly the same. So let me compile this and see whether this program also prints the y as well. Okay, so as you can see here, this one also prints y. So let's see the differences between these array brackets and functions. So as I said, that this f functions automatically checks the invalid access of index. So this string, the maximum index value of this string is a 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I try to access this 6th index of this string, which does not exist, and which is invalid index. So if I try to do this, and if I compile this one, as you can see here, the compiler, when we run this program, it says runtime. It throws a runtime error message saying that the program terminates with uncoded exceptions, which is out of range basic string. So using f function, we can get a runtime error message like this one if we try to access invalid index. But if we use this array square bracket and try to access invalid index like this one, I'm gonna compile this one, and if I run it, it does not produce any warnings or error message. So using this way of string is very dangerous, and we cannot expect programs to behave as expected. So anything can happen here. So using this strf function is much safer than using this array square brackets when you are accessing characters of string.